Executive Director of ACCPA, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, friends from government, academia, and media, or protocol observed. It is a great pleasure to have this opportunity to share with you the views on China's progress on addressing climate change, advancing the energy revolution, and promoting China-Africa cooperation. First, on behalf of the Chinese Embassy in Ghana, I want to sincerely appreciate Africa-China Center for Policy and Advisory and African Climate Foundation for hosting this summit. My appreciation always goes to His Excellency Honorable Minister of State, Seydu. His speech showcases the valuable support from President Mahama's government to developing China-Ghana relations, as well as promoting green transition. Ladies and gentlemen, the Earth is the only home we have. Human beings share a common future in the face of challenges presented by global climate change, and no country can make itself immune from the impact. As the largest developing country in the world, China has adopted a number of policies, measures, and actions to tackle climate change and take part in global climate governance. Despite the difficulties this creates for its own economic and social development, these efforts have achieved positive results. First, China has implemented a new development philosophy. President Xi Jinping has said, clear waters and green mountains are invaluable assets. China pursues a philosophy that development must be innovative, coordinated, green, open, shared, and people-centered. Actually, ecology civilization construction has been listed as one of the 5 pillars in China's national plan. We believe that eco-environmental protection leads to greater productivity. Following the current technological revolution and industrial trends, China has transformed and upgraded its economic and industrial structure to achieve green development. A better eco-environment is boosting China's sustainable economic and social development. Secondly, China is striving for carbon neutrality. During the United Nations General Assembly in the year 2020, China announced to peak carbon dioxide emissions before 2030 and to achieve carbon neutrality before 2060. Being one of China's major strategies, it is a solemn commitment towards building a global community of a shared future. China has incorporated this decision into its overall economic and social development, continue to honor and implement the Paris Agreement, focusing on green and low-carbon development of the energy sector, and accelerating the formation of industrial structures, production modes, ways of work and life to conserve resources and protect environment. Thirdly, China promotes the synergy of reduction of pollution as well as carbon emissions. Carbon dioxide and other ordinary pollutants often come from the same sources, mainly from the burning of fossil fuels. Controlling with the fossil fuels and consequently reducing carbon emissions will boost high-quality development by pressing for the green transition of the economy. It will be conducive to mitigating climate change and its damage. It will also help conserve biodiversity and improve ecosystems. China's efforts to reduce pollution and carbon emissions are planned and carried out in tandem, balancing environmental and climate economic gains. Ladies and gentlemen, China is the world's largest investor in clean energy and actively committed to technological innovation, cementing its role as a global leader in renewable energy has become more prominent. Since 2010, China's increasing production scale has reduced the prices of clean energy technologies by 60 to 90%. In the year 2023, over half of the world's newly added installed capacity of renewable energy, 510 million kilowatts, was contributed by China. China's installed capacity of renewable energy surpassed that of thermal power for the first time in history. In 2024, over 90% of newly commissioned global wind and solar projects had lower generation costs than the cheapest fossil fuel alternatives. Chinese companies submitted approximately 75% of the global clean energy patent applications, up from just 5% in the year 2000. China's wind and solar products have been exported to over 200 countries and regions, helping many developing countries gain access to clean, renewable, and affordable energy. In the 2024, China's wind and solar power generation capacity increased by 25% year-on-year, meeting 84% of the growth in electricity demand. The scale on wind and solar power and construction in China was twice the total of the rest of the world. Relevant installed capacity exceeded 1.2 billion kilowatts, achieving the 2030 target by 6 years ahead of schedule. The world's top 4 wind power equipment manufacturers are all Chinese companies. China's energy consumption per unit of GDP dropped by 11.6% from the year 2020 level, equivalent to reducing carbon dioxide emission by 1.1 billion tons. China is one of the countries with the fastest decrease in energy intensity. In July 2024, the monthly domestic retail sales of new energy passenger vehicles in China surpassed those of traditional fuel-powered vehicles for the first time, making EVs the new mainstream in Chinese market. China has been an active participant in global efforts on emission reduction and continued to pursue South-South cooperation on climate response. China has announced in the year 2021 a decision to stop building new coal-fired power projects overseas, demonstrating its concrete actions in response to climate change. And China has established 2 important funds, which is Global Development and South-South Cooperation Fund, South-South Cooperation Fund for Climate Change. As of November 2024, China has signed 53 memorandums of understanding on climate change in South-South cooperation with 42 developing countries and carried out nearly 100 mitigation and adaptation projects. These efforts have helped African countries, the least developed countries, small island countries, and other developing countries enhance climate resilience. Over the past 12 months, solar panel imports from China across Africa increased by 60%, with 20 African countries setting record high import volumes during this period. Chinese EV companies have maintained robust growth. According to media estimates, China accounted for 76% of the global EV market in October 2024. Experts predict that by the year 2035, China's clean energy output value may be doubled, generating 15 trillion yuan of economic benefits. Just recently, President Xi Jinping put forward the Global Governance Initiative, highlighting the growing prominence of issues such as climate change. President Xi called on developed countries to fulfill their responsibilities by providing more resources and public goods, and also urged developing countries to strengthen unity and self-reliance while making contributions within their capabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, the friendship between China and Africa has stood the test of time and become ever stronger, while practical cooperation has yielded rich fruits. In September 2024, the FOCAC summit was held in Beijing. President Xi Jinping delivered a keynote speech in which he emphasized that China and Africa together account 1/3 of the world's population. Without the modernization of China and Africa, there can be no modernization of the world. In the next 3 years, China is willing to carry out the 10 partnership actions, including the Green Development Partnership Action for China, Africa to jointly promote modernization with Africa. China promises to implement 30 clean energy projects in Africa, build meteorological early warning business platform, and carry out cooperation in disaster prevention, mitigation and relief, as well as biodiversity protection. China will establish China-Africa Forum of Peaceful Uses of Nuclear Technology, jointly build 30 laboratories, and carry out cooperation in satellite remote sensing, lunar and deep space exploration to help Africa achieve green development. China-Ghana practical cooperation are also steadily reinforced. China remains Ghana's largest trading partner and major source of foreign investments. Last year, our bilateral trade volume reached an unprecedented high of $11.8 billion, making a year-on-year growth of 7.1%. Hundreds of Chinese enterprises have invested in sectors such as infrastructure, manufacturing, mining, aviation, green energy, and petroleum refining, creating substantial employment opportunities for local people, while advancing Ghana's industrialization and safeguarding its energy security. Shenzhen Energy Group's Sunong Asokli power plant, the head of the company is here, significantly generated 2.6 billion kilowatts of electricity in the year 2024, significantly alleviating Ghana's industrial and residential electricity shortages. Years ago, the Bue hydropower station, another milestone of China-Ghana cooperation on climate change, the second largest in Ghana, can generate 1 billion kilowatts of electricity yearly, clean energy electricity. So I'm sure and I'm confident that under the strong leadership of President Xi Jinping and President John Mahama, China and Ghana will continuously to enrich the strategic partnership and jointly open a new chapter of friendly